in 2020, when we lost almost half of our revenue in a matter of 14 days, we closed the year with more revenue while things were still uncertain and still unpredictable. What supports a leader with the ability to navigate uncertainty and unpredictability is a clear vision. No matter what happens in the business environment, you all, the vision doesn't change. So 2020 comes, everything locks down. Within a week, I lose about 24% of my business revenue in 1 week. Clients cancel, you name it. And I spent a lot of time in my office on my knees praying. What is the next move? That's when the creator brought to my mind, like, the work don't stop. Like, you still continue to work in this direction. We did not deviate from the vision. In fact, what we did as an organization is we doubled down. Vision.
Let's lay your goals, let your greatness flow with inspirational perspective.
Today, we're talking about what I believe is likely the most relevant topic for most leaders, and that is how to lead and navigate through unpredictable business environments. Another way to say this would be how to lead through unpredictable business environments. And the biggest question I have for you is your current business environment unpredictable? Because if so, you definitely want to listen to this show, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're just an employee, but you can sense the unpredictability, the uncertainty in what's happening in your organization, in your company. You want to listen to this. I believe that one of the reasons most organizations do not thrive in unpredictability is simply because most leaders don't know how. They get caught. They get caught in it. And the idea of leadership is the ability to continue to move forward regardless of what's happening around you. That's why we're leaders. I shared a number of business cases. There's a business case in particular for accountability and timely feedback. I haven't shared this. So let's kick today's show off with that, because I believe that's probably one of the toughest things for leaders to do, is to hold their people accountable and do it in a timely way. So here's the business case for getting that done. About 7 in 10 companies reported talent shortages in 2019 all the way through 2024. This is at the worst level ever, talent shortages. Now, I know in the back of some folks' minds, they're going to say, well, how is that possible when you got companies like Amazon, et cetera, laying folks off? And I want you to focus in on one word: talent. This is specific talent, people who come with specialties. And I'm going to tell you something. If you don't have a specialty in today's market, man, are you in financial trouble. You will be. You will be. Like, and today's show is not about that. As we go into December, I'll be talking about some ways for us to begin to mentally prepare for 2026. But if you don't have, and let me pause here for a second. Because what I learn about us as human beings, working with human beings day in and day out, is that we tend to romanticize our capabilities in ways that don't necessarily match the truth. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Happened yesterday. I was having a conversation with one of the members of faculty at the University of Memphis. And this individual was sharing with me how things have changed at the university certain departments have been eliminated, etc., and how her department will be fine because, and then she went on to explain, and as she was explaining it, I asked the question. I said, well, have you thought about the impact of artificial intelligence and that development on the role you all play? And she was like, oh, you don't understand. Like, I'm a professor. It can't touch me. I said, well, how deep into artificial intelligence have you gotten in terms of and this is before I went up to talk. So they were having like a luncheon. I got there early. I'm just kind of chatting. I said, well, how deep have you gone into artificial intelligence? Well, with my role and how busy I am, I haven't had a chance. I mean, I've played with it, but I haven't had a chance. And I want you all to hear how sometimes we will romanticize ourselves in terms of what we do. And by the way, I'm not saying that what she teaches isn't important. What I'm saying is there may come a time rather soon where they don't need her to teach it. And if they're looking for someone to teach it, they're going to want that individual to have a certain set of skills around what's happening in this new era. What is this new era? And I can't even say it's new because I think that would be a misquote. The era we are in now, that isn't new anymore. Artificial intelligence and robotic era. We're about 3 to 4 years into it. And the reason I'm saying it's not new is because I think we only have about a decade in this era. A decade, at most 15 years before it shifts to something else that I have no idea what that is. And so we're 3 to 4 years in and you don't know anything about the era, but you believe you're safe. And that's, hopefully you guys see where I'm going. And so I reflected that to her and she kind of was like, well, no. You don't understand. And so that's what I mean when I say we tend to romanticize our own capabilities as if. And I also believe that's why so many people are shocked when things happen to them, how they're in shock. I would rather, and this gets into what we're going to talk about today for leaders, I would rather assume that I could be potentially under attack so I can build my walls and fortify myself so when the attack comes, I'm ready. I would rather be ready for an attack that never comes than to be unprepared for an attack that surprises me. And I think that's the way we all should be thinking. So if if you're romanticizing the role that you play, where you're like, no, Linal, this can't happen to me. None of these things can take me out. Please, I would, with love, ask you to think about that in a different way. I now want to talk about how we as leaders navigate uncertainty. How do we navigate uncertainty? By the way, if you happen to be one of the people I just called out, like a diversity expert, inclusion expert, DEI, belonging expert, and you didn't get what I said, write me, and I'll break it down for you. Because I really want to make sure you guys get that. Like, send me a note. Okay. Let's start with this quote as we go into how do we lead through uncertainty. There's a book by Price Pritchett. It's titled The Unfolding. And in this book, Price Pritchett says, sometimes people who feel lost in uncertainty end up finding themselves for the first time in their lives. They discover things in both themselves and their world that otherwise would have never been found. So the big question I have for those of you all who are listening is, when it comes to uncertainty, If you could, I want you to ask yourself this question. If you could eliminate uncertainty, this is the question I asked the young people yesterday. I asked them 2 questions. As a matter of fact, I should go to that. I think it was enlightening. The answers. Let me go to those questions real quick. I asked them 2 questions to kick off the talk yesterday. I asked them, how many of you want to go to your next level? I'm going to ask you all that. For those of you who are on Facebook or YouTube, if you want to go to the next level, then give me some hearts. And if you want to go to your next level, give me some hearts. And I'll watch it here. That's the question I asked. How many of you want to go to your next level? How many of you want to go to your next level? So give me some hearts if that's where you guys are. You're like, man, I want to go to my next level. Okay. All right. Here's the second question. Those hearts were weak. If I was like a lot of the influencers on, they'd be like, I'm not moving forward until I get more. I'm not going to do that to y'all, though. All right. Here they come now. All right. That was the first question. Here was the second question I asked. How many of you want to avoid difficulty and uncertainty at all cost? How many of you? And if you want to avoid difficulty and uncertainty at all cost, I want you to give me sad faces. All right. If you want to avoid difficulty and uncertainty at all cost, then put some sad faces up. And I want to see where everybody is. Now, I can tell that many of you are longtime listeners here on Facebook because I don't see no sad faces coming up. Now, here's what happened yesterday with the students. About half of the students raised their hands on this one. When I said, how many of you want to avoid difficulty and uncertainty at all costs, half the hands went up. And I said, okay, the reason I asked this question is because I need to identify how many minds I need to reset in the room. Because if you want to go to your next level, I would have you consider that the only way to get to your next level is through difficulty and uncertainty. There's no other way. There is no other way. And so the idea here first is, as leaders, we first have to change how we view uncertainty. We first have to change how we view difficulty. Because maybe what's happening right now in today's economy is the catalyst that takes me to the next level. Just maybe I needed this current difficulty and uncertainty so that it will catapult me to where I intend to go. And that's how I want us to begin thinking about uncertainty. If things are going to become uncertain, then by all means, I want to be there. By all means, if they're going to be difficult, I want to be able to navigate that. Because if I can navigate difficult things, if I can overcome big problems, that means I must be a big thinker. That means I've developed my ability to navigate through storms. So this is going to be incredibly important. So the question is, again, what is your relationship to uncertainty? Now, I want you to think about uncertainty a different way. And Dr. Price Pritchett, he talks about this in the opening of his book, where what he says is that many people have this negative connotation towards uncertainty. But what they don't realize is that if uncertainty is taken away from you, it actually takes away the full joy of life. Because to take away uncertainty means that you now become certain about everything that will occur in the next moment, in the next hour, in the next day, in the next week, in the next month. Now imagine that you were living your life fully knowing everything that was going to happen. The surprise that your significant other has for you. The moment that a loved one will pass, you know. Imagine moving with that knowledge every day. Even the good times, you know they're coming. Like your ability to experience life would drop significantly. So the thing that we tell ourselves we don't necessarily like or love is actually the thing that makes life life, that gives us the color of life. And so this is another reason that I believe it's very important as leaders that we shift how we view uncertainty, how we view difficulty. The question becomes then, I'm posing this question to you. How do effective leaders navigate the uncertainty of this current business environment? Like if I'm telling you to change your relationship with uncertainty, if I'm telling you in many ways that difficulty is okay, then how do effective leaders navigate uncertainty, navigate difficulty in this current business environment? It's a one-word answer. Let me share what I personally know, how the answer impacts business. Okay, so I was telling the story of what happened in 2020. So 2020 comes. I'm navigating that uncertainty as a CEO. I remember it like it's yesterday, March 18th, lockdowns, right? It was like right around there between March 18th, March 24th, 25th, everything locks down. Within a week, I lose about 24% of my business revenue in 1 week. Contracts canceled, clients canceled, you name it. The next week, I lose about another 26%. So half of business revenue in a matter of 14 days, right? And we don't necessarily, I'm like, man, what is happening? All of a sudden, I got this time on my hands when we're not doing things. We're not traveling anymore. Any speaking engagements, all those things are off. Like everything's off. And I spent a lot of time in my office on my knees, praying. Let me say that just in case somebody gets, that's what I was doing, okay? Like, man, what's happening? I'm reading, I'm meditating, and I'm praying. I'm like, okay, what's the next move here? What's the next move? So much uncertainty, so much unpredictability, clients canceling, etc. What is the next move? And that's when the Creator brought to my mind, like, the work don't stop. And he brought this through my mind through the answer. By the way, I had been teaching this before 2020. Through the answer I'm about to give you. Like, you still continue to work in this direction. So, vision. What supports a leader with the ability to navigate uncertainty and unpredictability is a clear vision. No matter what happens in the business environment, you all, the vision doesn't change. So what happened in 2020? The vision I had for 2020 for my organization is the same as my purpose, and that is to support people with living the best life possible. And so we're going through this pandemic, these shutdowns, everyone's uncertain, all-time high level of mental health issues, depression. People are just really struggling. And what became clear to me is that even if folks can't pay, I am obligated through my purpose, right? Through my purpose and the vision I have for my organization to support. And so we went into support mode. How many of you may remember, we did free coaching on Mondays. We had a webinar. I did free training, free coaching. Many of the clients who couldn't pay, I said, doesn't matter. If you're willing to show up to your session, I'm going to coach you. I'm going to support you, right? And that's what we started doing. In 2020, we closed that year making more revenue than we did in 2018, 2019, all time as a company. In 2020, when we lost almost half of our revenue in a matter of 14 days, we closed the year with more revenue while things were still uncertain and still unpredictable. Why? Because we did not deviate from the vision. We did not deviate from the vision. In fact, what we did as an organization is we doubled down. We doubled down. And for months, we went without revenue. But when things opened back up, because of what we gave, we received back in a proportion well over what we were at previous to the start of the pandemic. Vision, 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 vision. Now, somebody's saying, well, help me. They may be trying to compute. How does vision support me when things are uncertain? This is how. When I have a clear vision, right, that vision is for the future. So that vision informs me of what my priorities are, the actions that I should take, regardless of what things look like in the moment. What happens is leaders get so focused on the uncertainty of the moment, they begin to stare at that. And what happens when you're staring at uncertainty, it's like staring into fog. You cannot see anything. And whatever you do see changes so quickly because it's unpredictable. You thought you saw something that you didn't see. I believe things are going to go like this next week. And then it doesn't. So instead, what we do is we focus on the long view. I don't know how things are going today, and I don't know how they're going to go tomorrow. And in fact, I don't even know how they're going to go next week. But what I am committed to is the vision for the next year, the vision for the next 2 years, the vision for the next 3 years. And so I'm going to focus on getting crystal clear on that and take actions regardless of the fog around me, because this is saying do all these other things. Regardless of the fog around me, I'm going to take action that is aligned with the long view. We must start with the end in mind. We must start with the end in mind. That's the vision. One of the reasons I believe most leaders struggle is because they never get crystal clear on their vision. I've shared this plenty of times. We'll have another masterclass coming up, God willing, December 27th. Mark your calendars for that. It'll be free. But in that masterclass, I believe every year I say the same thing. The only way to get from point A, where you are today, in the uncertainty, in the unpredictability, to get from point A to point B, where you intend to go, is to get crystal clear on your vision. Crystal clear on your vision. I believe the biggest mistakes leaders are making is because things look so dramatic around them, right? I think of horses. Whenever a horse is pulling a carriage or a load, what the driver will do is he'll put blinders on the horse. The horse can't see what's on the side. It can't see what's to the right. It can't see what's to the left because the driver knows that if it could, it might get distracted. And the driver is very clear about where point B is. And so if I'm driving these horses and I'm directing these horses, then I don't want them to get distracted by the problems. I don't want them to get distracted by the environment. I don't want them to get distracted by the people and what they're saying. I don't want them to get distracted by the colors. I want them to only be able to see straight ahead towards the destination. And many of us, when it comes to how we lead, we have to be the same way. I can't be distracted by the government shutdown. I can't be distracted by what's going on with the FAA. I can't. I was just on a flight that got delayed because of it, but I can't be distracted. Like, what is my vision? How am I taking action in alignment with my vision? And if I'm not sure what actions to take, that means my vision is not clear enough. And so that is the action to take, to clarify my vision. Your vision should be so clear that it is mentally and emotionally compelling. When you think about your vision, it should move you. It should move you. When I say move you emotionally. It should give you chills. Hey, if you're enjoying what you're watching right now, do me a quick favor. I want you to hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss when we drop new content. Seriously, it means the world that you're here. Thanks for watching, and let's get back to it. Now, here's the thing that comes up. When you say, as a leader, you should focus on the vision, almost every time a hand will go up in the audience to be one of the senior leaders, typically the one that's trying to figure out why I'm there in the first place. Right? And if I finally got him, I finally got this youngster. A lot of them, they look at me and he's too young to be up there. They get shocked when I start talking about, 20 years ago and 16. They're like, how does that add up, sir? I'm almost half a century now. It's amazing to think about. But here's the question that they have. They go, okay, start with the end in mind. I know what the end is. And so, Linal, how do we get there? When everything is unpredictable, when everything seems like it's getting crazy, when everything is uncertain, how? How? And this is where I love to bring up things that were even more unpredictable, even more uncertain. The only thing that I know to be more uncertain than the times that we're living in now is war. And so I always take them to General Dwight D. Eisenhower. And I tell them, imagine preparing for D-Day. It's World War II. Mid-1900s. You're Dwight D. Eisenhower. You're planning an initiative that could very well change the history of the world. If you lose, you likely will lose the entire war. But if you win, it can change the course of the war. And you're doing this without certainty. You can't predict a thing. You think you may know where the enemy is. You think you know how the enemy may respond. But you can't be sure. The one thing is you have a vision. You have a vision. And Dwight D. Eisenhower, he's quoted saying, in preparing for battle, I have found that plans are useless, but planning itself is indispensable. So what this is telling you is, okay, you can write down how you're going to do it, but you can't be attached to that. We shouldn't be worried so much about how. Like, we should have a plan, but we shouldn't be so worried about how. What's more important is knowing where you intend to go. Because if I know where I intend to go, then how I get there may have to change. I can't tell you how many Sundays I thought I was going to take 290 all the way into the station, right? I know where I'm going, but then something happens. I know it's clear I need to be on the radio, but I have to take a detour. I got to get off. I got to take some streets. So how will likely change. And how will always change in a VUCA environment. Now, you may not be familiar with that term, VUCA. It's an acronym, VUCA. Write that down, VUCA. It's a military term. But a VUCA environment stands for V, volatility. Are we in volatile times? Right? U, uncertainty. Are we in uncertain times? Yeah. C, complexity. Would you say things are a bit complex right now? Yeah. And A, ambiguity. Would you say that things can be ambiguous? Me and Ade were just chuckling about the Republican narrative right now, the Democratic shutdown. And I'm like, man, like they've got their one-liners like synced up, right? It's ambiguous. We know that there are things happening on both sides. It's ambiguous. Like who's to blame? No one knows, right? We are living in a VUCA environment. If there's ever been one, right now, it's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. No different than war. So then if we go back to Dwight D. Eisenhower, on the day when D-Day, the battles were about to begin. He has his commanding officers in front of him. He's looking at them knowing that when they leave and when they begin to lead their troops, that all the plans that they've created, all the hows can go out the window. He comes to one thing and he goes, gentlemen, no matter what happens, we need to remain focused on the vision. And the vision is, and he's quoted saying this, the vision is full victory, nothing else. The decisions you make must be aligned to full victory and nothing else. If the plan goes out the window, you come back to the vision. The vision is full victory, nothing else. You make decisions aligned with that vision. Don't worry about how. Concentrate on the vision. Concentrate on the vision. Now, if this can work in war, because we know the outcome of D-Day, and we know the plans didn't go. I mean, there's plenty of movies about how the plans went awry. The plans didn't go the way the plans were supposed to go. Many of those ships landed on the beaches, and they were like, wait, they're waiting for us. The plans did not go the way the plans were supposed to go. The reason we won is because of clarity of vision. Full victory, nothing else. So then the question becomes, as a leader, are you clear? Do you have a clear vision that even if you show up on the shore, even if you implement the plan and the plan is under attack, you're like, man, this is not working, that you still know we got to move forward. We got to move forward. Full victory, nothing else. Full victory, nothing else. Don't worry about how. Now let's go logical. There's a book by Dr. Maxwell Maltz called Psycho-Cybernetics. And in chapter 2 of this book, Dr. Maltz begins to talk about the success mechanism in every human being. Matter of fact, I believe that's the name of the second chapter. Understanding your success mechanism, which, by the way, most of us don't, which is why we struggle. And I want to read an excerpt from chapter 2 of this book. It's towards the end of chapter 2. And Dr. Maxwell Maltz says here, and this is talking about how, because I'm telling you, don't worry about how. And when you tell leaders who have gone through years of school, undergrad, graduate school, where they, quote unquote, learned how, right? And then you say, hey, don't worry about how. They go, huh? What do you mean? No, focus on the vision. Don't worry about how. When the business environment becomes unpredictable, when the business environment becomes uncertain, don't worry about how. Focus on the vision. They go, what? But I was only taught how. How? I was taught to build strategies on how. What do I do? Well, Dr. Maxwell Maltz says, the means by which your success mechanism works often takes care of itself and does so effortlessly. I want you to really hear this. Effortlessly. When you supply the vision to your brain. You know the problem that most of us have? Is we put in too much effort on the wrong things. If you go back to my 2020 story, when I had that free time and I would go down to my office, you didn't hear me sending emails, working on a new strategy, right? Trying to build a new product. That's not what I was doing. I was still. I was meditating. I was reading. I was working to get clear. I was working to supply the vision to my brain. What is the vision? What do we stand for at Inspirational Perspective? What do we stand for at Insights for Life? What is the work that I'm supposed to be doing no matter what? What direction am I supposed to go? Like when I'm not looking at the pandemic, when I'm not looking at sickness, when I'm not looking at COVID, when I'm not looking at those things, what is my work? If I pull all that out, if I push it out, what is my work? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing no matter what? What is the vision? When you get that clear, Dr. Maxwell Maltz goes on to say, the precise action steps will come to you without stress, without tension, or without worry about how you're going to accomplish the result you seek. Like when it came to me, there was no stress, there was no tension. Give it away free, Linal. Do your work anyway. Whether you can be paid for it or not, your purpose is to do this work. Do your work. Okay. That is in direction of the vision. He goes on to say, many people make the mistake of interfering with their success mechanism by demanding how before a goal or vision is clearly established. I want you to think about this. Many folks right now, how are we going to eat? No snap. How? Linal, you don't understand. What's the vision? What's the vision? What's the long view? What's the long view? What's the long view? What are you committed to? He then goes on to say in Psycho-Cybernetics, after you formed a mental image of the goal and vision you seek to create, the how will come to you. The how will come to you, not before. And when it shows up, you know. It may not be something you want to do. It was scary to give away everything for free. That wasn't. Like these are, hey, what do you, it's the same thing I'm doing now. Okay, all leadership material, giving it away. Right? It just came to me. This is what you're supposed to do. All right, I'm going to do it. But when you don't demand and you have a vision and it shows up, after you form the mental image of the goal you seek to create, the how will come to you. Okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then he goes on to say, remain calm. Right now? Remain calm? Remain calm. Now, and by the way, this is neuroscience. If you're all psyched up, you're all anxious and worried, then that means you're functioning from the amygdala. That's not the strategic part of your brain. That's the fight or flight. You're freezing. You're running. Now, you're not going to get where you intend to go. You're not going in the right direction. So what he's saying is, no, bring it to your neocortex. Bring it to your neocortex. Bring it to the executive functioning portion of your brain. Bring it to the strategic part of your brain. Remain calm and relaxed, and the answers will arrive. Any attempt to force the ideas to come will not work. As Brian Tracy wrote, in all mental workings, effort defeats itself. How counterintuitive. So, to reframe this, what Dr. Maxwell Maltz is saying is when you feel like you should be running in circles and screaming, sit down, be quiet, get relaxed, get calm, and focus on the long view and the vision that the Creator gave you. Now, if that doesn't sound aligned with His Word, I don't know what is. I can go through scriptures after scripture that says, Don't worry for tomorrow. Don't be anxious, right? And then, now you have this text that's telling you the same thing. Focus on the long view. There's a quote by Steve Jobs that I love. And he says, if you are working on something exciting that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision will pull you. The vision will pull you along. You'll be doing the work whether you feel like it or not. The vision will pull you. This is the power of vision. This is the power of vision. One of the reasons I believe many of us struggle the way that we do is because we have not crafted a clear vision for our lives. When you're building an alignment with a vision, then there's still work to be done. No matter what happens, there's still work to be done. No matter what happens to the economy, there's still work to be done. No matter what happens to the business, there's still work to be done. No matter what happens to the financials, there's still work to be done. There's still work to be done. There's still work to be done. Your vision provides the foundation for your work. Here's why. Here's why. If you're not already convinced, here's the reason why. We already live in an environment that is change cubed. Not it used to be change squared maybe 10, 20 years ago. Now it's change cubed. I get these updates on technology. I can barely keep up. Things are coming so fast. They're changing things so quick. One day it's Gemini at the top of AI. The next day it's chat. Here comes Grok changing it, trying to take over. And then the tools that are coming out, the inventions that are coming out along with all these things, it's changing. In the next 5 years, many of us who have the funds will have humanoids in our home. That's different. That's going to change everything. Already, I'm trying to figure out how to be a parent in this environment, how to teach my children about AI. My daughter's 3 years old, and I want her to understand that that's artificial intelligence and that it has some things that it knows and other things that it doesn't. We got to be thoughtful, right? Everything is changing. And when everything is changing like this, if you're focused on what's changing, you'll just constantly be changing directions. Almost like a football player this Sunday morning, juking and shaking. We've seen plenty of running backs, make them miss 4 tackles, 4 to 5 tackles missed, pick up, no gain. It looked good, didn't go nowhere. And that's how some people are in their business, right? Oh, man, run that back. That looked great. How far did you go? Oh, they didn't pick up any yards. Exhausted, though, a bit more tired than you were last week. All week, you were juking. No, it's how do I move in alignment with vision? How do I move in alignment with vision? Things are changing so fast. We live in an environment now where technology is at the center of most of the change that we will experience. It's at the center of most of the change we have experienced. And let me give you a few examples. I want to talk to those of you who are a bit change adverse. You're a slow adopter. When new things happen, you often look at it and go, I'm not. That's crazy. And I'm a embody one of you for a moment here. Because what you don't want to be is super late to this new party. You could be late to some of these other parties. Let me give you a party that you could have been late to. There are folks out here that when Uber came out, they were like, what? So hold on. Somebody pulls up in front of your house. You don't know them. and you get into their car, you crazy. And they were like, I would never. And guess what? They're probably listening in one right now. You get where I'm going? Like driving, smiling to themselves like, yeah, I said I would never. And look at you now, right? This is how change happens to us. Uber was an idea that did not make sense. People use their own cars and pick folks up who don't know them. If you need to go somewhere like a taxi, then we're going to just have you come to the house and pick you up. And I have no idea who they are. I just see a name. James is going to be in a silver Toyota Corolla, license plates BT 2811. Okay. Oh, there's James. And you jump in the back of the car. Like 10 years ago, you'd have been like, nah, man, no. Now, Uber, I got my stock in them. I don't know about you. Give you a little stock tip. I mean, okay. What about Turo? We have an entire business built around this. Me and my partners. Comes out. What if people were willing to loan out their cars? No one would ever. I would never. There's an entire business model based on loaning out cars now. You know, and by the way, 15 years ago, you couldn't predict this. If you had mentioned it to somebody, they go, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't know about that, man. I let that one go. Now you have businesses, Turo's trying to come out with an IPO very soon. What about Airbnb? Stay in somebody's house versus a hotel? Like, I'm just going, and they got keys, and I'm just going to go in and sometimes actually meet them. They go, how you doing? You know, or you can stay in this room, or, all right, this is my house, and this is where everything is. I'll see y'all later. And they walk out with the other set. Airbnb. This is how technology has changed how we view what seemed unreasonable and irrational before. If you don't think things are changing at a pace, and this is why, as a leader, not only do I have to keep my finger on the pulse, but I also have to be crystal clear about the long view. How do we, as a company, adapt to these changes? This is how I had a leader, a CEO not too long ago. They were like, Linal, help me understand how you got into AI. I mean, you're a phenomenal coach. You know, you do leadership development. I'm trying to rectify the two. Like, how do they connect? And I'm like, if I'm going to lead and support people in an era, wouldn't it be pertinent that I understand the technology of that era? And then, like, we were on Zoom. I could see his eyes like, huh? Like, and this is the CEO, right? He's like, I guess that would make sense. Yeah. How am I going to support people if I don't understand the technology of the era? If my vision is to help people live the best life possible, if every company I own is about supporting individuals and living a better life, and the era is shifting right underneath us, and I don't understand the era, then I'm not living out my purpose. So when I look at this through the view of my vision for my life and for my leadership legacy, I must know this. I must be able to talk about this and teach it. I have to know it. It's imperative. Folks say, Linal, you got on that one fast, man. You're new to the game. It's like, but it's the vision. It's the long view. Is the world outside of your organization moving faster than the world inside your organization? Because let me tell you something. If the answer is yes, then you already know what your first business imperative is. You got to keep up. You got to keep up. One of the other things that Slayer Goals members got was AI education. Why am I giving away AI education? Because, and not giving it away, you got to be a member. But why am I doing that for my members? Because if I'm telling you, if you become a Slayer Goals member, not only will I teach you how to set goals and take your life to the next level, but I'm arming you to be able to move in this current environment. The idea is I'm teaching you what you need to know to keep pace. So that way, the world outside your organization is not moving faster than your organization. So if you ask me, well, Linal, if that's true, is your organization using AI agents? Yep. Are we using AI at a high level? Yep. We have to keep up. We have to. AI is looking at everything. I want to go to lesson 22 because then that means I probably didn't read lesson 22, which is appropriate for today's talk as well. All right. And then, for those of you on Facebook, you can see the pictures and how the book is lined up. I hope you're excited about it. Lesson 22, clarity of vision equals discipline. Clarity of vision equals discipline. And you can see the eagle there. That's the African fish eagle, by the way. Then we have another spread here of the eagle. I know ID's got that camera going. Lesson 22. Clear vision of the target provides the discipline to adjust your flight path. Lesson 22. Eagles can spot a small field mouse from 3 to 5 miles away. Long view. No matter how turbulent the wind or poor the viewing conditions, eagles can find the discipline to adjust their flight path while keeping sight of the goal. This clarity of focus allows them to persevere and hold their goal in view, even when the path forward demands change, even when the target is constantly moving. When we keep an eagle eye focus on your business targets, no obstacle can deter us from reaching our goals. Effective leaders stay invested in their vision while skillfully navigating any new challenges that crop up by adjusting course, never taking their eyes off the prize. Here's reflection question. The 2 reflection questions. Number 1, what's your field mouse as a leader? What's that critical goal that seems impossibly distant right now? I want you to write that down. Question number 2. How is unclear vision causing you to abandon strategies instead of adapting and embracing them? Like, think about that. How is unclear vision? Maybe you're abandoning things that you actually should be doubling down on. How is unclear vision causing you to abandon strategies instead of adapting and embracing them? All right. Man, I'm going to tell you, one of the things I saw around unclear vision, new administration comes in, CEOs. By the way, the data says that 72% of CEOs believe that diversity and inclusion are important parts of their strategy. And then a new administration came in and they changed it. What's the vision? What's the vision? Thank you for watching Inspirational Perspective. If you love this show and you want to see more content like this, you can go right here. And if you like this subject and you want to see much more content that we have available for you, just click the button here. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to watch the show live, 7 a.m. every Sunday morning on WBON Radio, or you can catch it right here on YouTube or Facebook.com/Coach Linal Harris. Be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so we can get more content just like this to you.